I'd like to call the meeting to order. Does everybody have the packet or reviewed it before they came, or they have it online right now? Thank you all for coming today. Can we establish a quorum, please?
Yes, I will go ahead and take roll. It looks like we have Commissioner Basigi, Commissioner O'Reilly, Vice Chair Lee, Chair Cohen, Commissioner McDowell, and Commissioner Buckle. So we do have a quorum of 6 commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, it's time for the Pledge of Allegiance. Yeah, only if you're able to stand. Okay. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
have any members of the public that are online to send any data around the questions that are not on the agenda?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do not currently have any members of the public in attendance online. And we did not receive anything ahead of time. So at this time, I will give it just a moment, but do not see anyone that is requested to speak on items not on the agenda.
Thank you. The next item are the minutes from April 3rd. And the reason that we're having the minutes from April 3rd is that we didn't have a quorum at the last meeting, so the meeting was canceled, so there are no minutes, and you got a sheet about that. So have people had a chance to look at the minutes from April 3rd? Any comments? Can I have a motion to approve, please?
I motion to approve.
Jim, thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Minutes are approved.
So Tony has abstained.
Okay, the first item is the senior commission reorg. And we have a handout and Jamie's going to review that for us.
Yeah, so at this time, when we reorganize, we are going to select a chair and vice chair to serve over the next year. So essentially it would have been May to May, but we've pushed that to today for June. But essentially the chair's job would be to run the meeting. And then the vice chair, if the chair is unable to attend, chairing the meeting would then go to the vice chair. And if the chair and vice chair are not able to attend, then we can select another commissioner. But essentially it is the job of the chair and vice chair to work with the staff liaison to obviously organize the meeting for the topics that will come before the commission, and then obviously to run the meeting to make sure that all the commissioners and the public have an organized fashion to ask questions and discuss during the meeting. So it is open for who would like to serve. It could be existing chair and vice chair, it could be new individuals. But it is at the desire of the commission and the commissioners themselves on who would like to serve and accept nominations. So with that, we can go for the chair position first, and then we can follow it with the vice chair.
I nominate Tony in advance. And Jane to continue. Okay.
It's permitted, I understand it's permitted.
Limit on how many terms could serve.
The nomination is wrong. My nomination of you, Tony, I'm sorry, don't be upset.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Chairman Coleman.
I nominate Chairman Cohen as well, that's second.
Okay, do we vote or what?
Yeah, so it looks like we do have many nominations for Commissioner Cohen. And so although I did hear for Vice Chair Lee as well, but it sounds like there would both of you like to accept the nomination, and then we can go through to see who would like to, or
For the
for
chair.
the chair position.
Tony said he withdrew.
Oh, okay. Okay. So we have a single nomination for Chair Cohen. For those that would like to accept the nomination for Chair Cohen, please say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, then it is unanimous that Commissioner Cohen will continue as Chair Cohen for the next year. Thank you. And then we can move on to the Vice Chair position, and that can be open for nomination.
I nominate Bill Buckles to be the next vice chair. Second.
I decline.
Oh,
I nominate Tony Lee.
I second that.
Any other nominations? Okay, looks like there is a single nomination for Commissioner Lee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right. Then we have our new chair and vice chair for the next year, which is Chair Cohen and Vice Chair Lee.
Thank you.
Congratulate both candidates. We avoided the vicious name calling and negative.
Stepping back. By not volunteer.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Tony, pleasure to work with you again. Okay, the next topic is age friendly, and again, Jamie has a report for us, which you saw in your packet, and she's going to present.
Yes, so there is quite an extensive presentation, and that was forwarded by Dr. Annabelle Pelham and Cafe, who took the opportunity in April to meet with our recertification subcommittee, which at the time was Chair Cohen and Commissioner Buckholz. And there was a lengthy discussion about age friendly, the process, and what that would entail. The first part, which before we get into that presentation, the first part that Cafe always recommends, and I mentioned at one of the earlier meetings, is that the process usually starts with the AARP survey. And I was able to meet with two of the AARP representatives, have filled out the paperwork and are just waiting to get the actual survey link so that we can start that process. Cafe always recommends to get the that data first, so that that can lead into the more in-depth process of the focus groups. So hopefully at our next meeting, I will have that link and we can have information to share so that we can get the surveys out and start getting that information. Cafe usually recommends that it's over at least about a 12-week process to give the community time to actually fill out the data and submit it. And then that will also give us time to inform through a variety of different ways the community that we are actually outreaching for that thing. Once that is complete, the next part, both Chair Cohen and Commissioner Buckles can share, that will then lead into the focus groups. And the biggest part there is going to be determine the various stakeholders that we would like to include to be in the focus groups. And it will be a variety. It won't just be one, it will be several, to make sure that we get a wide range of information, and obviously to match the demographics and the age groups that we would like to reach out to. So that is, and again, the PowerPoint that Cafe included is quite an extensive overview of the age-friendly process, which we are just at the beginning stages to start. So with that, that is a general overview of where we are in the process. But Chair Cohen, Commissioner Buckholz, I don't know if you want to share any additional notes from your in-depth meeting with Annabelle as well.
I have two things I'd like to say. The survey that will be done first is computer-based only. They do not have a paper and pencil version. So we need to have a strategy, we'll have to develop it somehow, for us to assist people who don't have internet access or they're not comfortable with computers, to maybe have them come in small groups or some way. We don't want to miss them, because they might be the socially isolated people that we've been trying to find for a long time. And so we want to try to include them. And so we need a strategy for that. So I just wanted to, it wasn't clear until I met with Annabelle that there was no paper and pencil. So that's one thing. And the other thing is we have to appoint a task group also. And I'm not sure where that's fitting in. It's before the focus group, I think.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jill? Wasn't it? And it's different than the commission. It's another group of interested and concerned people that work with seniors, or interested in senior issues that, you know,
Several different levels of answering some of these questions. The informing the community, I assume, has specific ways that have been done in the past. So those would be employed.
can you speak up a little bit?
The way that the commission and other commissions inform the community has been done before. So I would assume that that process can be repeated. The additional ways to do it, I would suggest be houses of worship, because many of them have a lot of seniors. In fact, they may be the only people in the pew. I think that there is a group, I'll call the sandwich generation, of parents who have elder parents and then children, and they're the PTA crowd. So that would be a place to disseminate this information, specifically with some bullet points, if you will, on why this is important, because this sandwich generation are the ones who take care of their parents. The question I have is, how lenient can we be about non-Los Altos residents? The task force, the type of people that we want are the ones who've been around the block several times. And not all of them live in Los Altos. I am part of something called the Silicon Valley Senior Roundtable, which is an organization of for-profit groups that provide services for seniors. They would be ones that would be able to help find where seniors are that are not necessarily online. They certainly have, some of them, a genuine interest in helping seniors that is not cash-based. So I've been in touch with several of these people, and they would love to help this out, just on the basis of wanting it to be a successful process. Stakeholders, again, the PTA crowd who take care of their parents, I would consider them a stakeholder. Possibly certainly gerontologists, geriatricians. One of the best known geriatricians has an office in Los Altos, but practices out of Stanford. So how much leniency can we afford?
The best example that I can give, and this is something that our department actually did when we were getting ready to open the community center. I think the biggest part is that age friendly, and we are being specific to the city of Los Altos, but when we did outreach, much of who utilizes parks and recreation is not only the Los Altos community, but surrounding communities as well. We did include, we didn't turn away feedback, but we did categorize so that we could make sure that we knew what feedback was provided by Los Altos residents versus those that were non-residents. So I think that is something that we could do, is still get that feedback. And to your other question about stakeholders and making sure that is one of the components that you want to make sure that it's representative of the expertise and perspective that you would like to get. It can be encompassing, but I think we would just want to make sure that we knew who was providing that feedback so that we could make sure that that's captured in the information that is put together.
Is the membership here at the community center identifiable by city of residence?
Yes, it is.
So we could use that roster to include people who are obviously interested in what happens here in Los Altos. I don't know about first responders and whether they would be considered a stakeholder, but certainly they are familiar with fragile seniors.
A third category, perhaps.
What about senior housing that we have locally?
What level of housing? We have retirement communities, we have assisted living.
Right, we can start,
Terraces.
yeah, many of them are very active people, not just, they're not hospitalized or bedridden. So they do participate in activities within their organization.
The residents, I'm thinking of the residents of the city and city boundaries.
In my experience, people, I'll use my age. My birthday's in 2 weeks. I'll be 78, and people of my age who are active refuse to consider themselves seniors because of the stereotype of frailty. So getting the active people who, God willing, live long enough to become in need of caregiving. And so having that stakeholder group, whether they identify as such, seems it will have a different appeal because they're more interested in having more, pickleball courts. Than, having, Meals on Wheels.
No, but until you tap into them, you really don't know. Until you tap into them, you really don't know. I know for fact that two of my friends that are would-be caregivers and active senior, they have decided to move into a care homes, not care homes, but elderly facilities. So
Retirement, so what, so they are identified as retirement rather than assisted living?
So my sense is that if you kind of approach them and find out with your set of questions that you want to be answered, you basically ask them those questions as opposed to a general categorization of active versus non-active and all the rest of it. You might be surprised.
The hazard of pigeonholing people who are living in a communal living is a different perspective for those who are aging in place in their own home. And so how do we define those people aging in place in their own home? Well, the people like Gary Hedden and other individuals certainly have their ear to the ground for people who wish to age in place. And I think that is an important stakeholder because my friends are all in that category.
I think the answer is all of the above until we sort of filter it out. At the first level, it's all of the above from my point of view.
The question that I would raise is how do we contact them? Word of mouth?
The retirement communities are the easiest thing in the world to contact because they're all in one place.
Well, if they're all on the same address, no problem. But my friends don't live at the same address.
I'd like some clarification. I thought we were discussing task force members. It sounds to me that you're talking about focus group membership at this point. We want leaders. We want leaders that are knowledgeable. I would say the way we would pick them, I mean, Annabelle has a suggestion that we start with us, and then we can look at the 8 domains. That's the way I would structure it. Look at the 8 domains and try to pick leaders in some of those domain topics. So that's what we're looking for, leadership. I'm sorry?
That's for the task force.
Through the task force, exactly. And the task force is going to lead us into the focus groups. We need the task force in place. That's my understanding. Is that, Bridget, do you remember?
Annabelle has a beautiful list of possible roles that would be included in the task force. And those groups I'm sorry, I slipped into another category of that task force has to have people who know about housing, about the nature of city planning, all the commissions that exist in Los Altos have an area of interest.
Have people that develop the housing element, the leadership of that would be one person that we could approach for the task force. Yeah. So I just want to clarify again. Were you talking about task force membership or were you talking about focus group at this point? Did it blend in?
I was talking about stakeholders. So the task force are going to be probably those with experience in dealing with senior issues.
Leadership, leaders in certain categories. That's the way
Yeah.
she said we could start with the commission and then add to it, but it's not going to be more than 12 or 14 people in town. That's about what she said, I think.
Yeah,
Is that wrong?
that's a large group.
I'm sorry.
I think that's, I would think that 10 would be maximum occupancy.
It's getting the right people. That's what it's all about, getting the right people.
So, I certainly have thought about this, and I could come up with at least categories that I could need to see represented. But since we, the commission, are going to be involved with the focus groups, taking notes at least, we need to own up to the other parts of making this work also. So each of us, if we have a list of potential roles, we'll probably, as an aggregate, would know a lot of different people who would fill that for a task force. So disseminating the list that was in the slide stack would make sense to me. And then I guess if we have anybody that comes to mind that might be useful, can we send them the nominees to you? And so that's a central record keeping.
Absolutely. In regards to process, as Annabelle pointed out, the initial start would be with the senior commission. And then obviously, there are areas that would need additional support. And so absolutely, that would be coordinated through city staff to kind of work through those individuals that would also like to be a part of the process.
Can we afford you?
Absolutely.
So I think
That's a good question, by the way. I think staff really is essential to a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
Active involvement for, you know.
But I think we need to have actual involvement. So,
By you mean us here.
yeah, the senior commission, we've got a full house now. George, I haven't met you yet, Bill Buckles. So, I mean, we need to look for ways that we can facilitate this. With the ultimate purpose of it, having an age-friendly city for multiple age groups. But the central one would be our age.
So the task force membership could be in process of being developed during the beginning of the survey. We're going to initiate the survey. We don't need the task force because that's a set, valid, and reliable tool that we are going to be using. And it's going to be over a 90-day period, correct? So, what do you suggest, Jamie? Do you have any?
No, absolutely. So I think the first part to know, and as Annabelle pointed out, this is not a sprint. This is definitely a marathon of a process. So it is going to be over a period of time. The first part is again going to be the survey through AARP. The next part will be the focus group. So given that we will have a good time frame to get the survey data, that will give us an opportunity to plan accordingly at our senior commission meeting, so that we can then make sure once we get to the focus group that we focus groups, I should say, that's going to be multiple, so that we can plan, and where we find that we might need additional support, as some of the discussion has highlighted, we can then target that once we get the survey up and running.
Do we use that as a future, we'll save it for the end of the meeting, as a future agenda item that we could submit, we could have as a discussion item, this issue again, and if we have submissions, we have suggestions of either, I don't know if we want to get to names at this point or roles at this point, I'm not really sure. But I'm just looking for this, I don't know, we just need like the right people. We need the senior leaders that really know that area. And there's really important areas that we should focus on. So,
And
could we add that on, Bill, so we can bring it up?
Absolutely, but if these thought leaders live in Cupertino, can they work on the task force?
and that's a question that I can clarify with, the cafe staff. Obviously, there is, expertise around, kind of the age-friendly or aging in places, some of the topics that you've mentioned. But I think that is something that I'll have to clarify to make sure that it's, representative of the information that we, want to get. And then it also looks like, Councilmember Lee has her hand raised.
Well, I did want to suggest, thank you, Jamie. I did, as you're looking for leaders, we do have wonderful community leaders, senior community leaders that have worked on the first age-friendly efforts. We have Tanya DeMar. She's a resident who still resides in Los Altos. You have Frank Martin. So, you do have wonderful community members who are very familiar with this program and can provide guidance and assistance if we reach out to them.
That is brilliant.
And is Margaret, she worked on the last one, she
Oh,
told
good.
me,
Design?
and she's very interested in helping us this time too.
Dan, can we get lists from you of people whom you know have been involved with the previous certification?
Yes, I'd be glad to provide some guidance. I mean, the names and the individuals that have been. And I think, Jamie, do you have those original list of the original senior commission that we just started? We even have Ginger, who lives in Los Altos Hills, and she was on the commission as well. So yeah, if you don't have it, Jamie, I do have it, and I can provide that with, and I'll share that with Jamie, and I'll work with Jamie.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Does anyone have anything else they'd like to add to this topic? Other comments?
Well, I'd certainly like to invite everyone, if they look at this list of roles, if you have anybody whom you think would be useful, whether they live local or not, please let us know.
We'll bring it forward at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As an agenda item.
Once we define the framework for the focus groups slash the stakeholders, I will take part in trying to tap into the people from Los Altos Hills that I do know. I do know Ginger Summit that Leanne just mentioned, and also others within the community that would be interested in helping.
And I was just going to share process-wise, as Commissioner Buckholz highlighted, if there are other ideas or things that we would like to include for discussion, go ahead and forward that information to myself and Candace. And then age-friendly will continue to be an ongoing topic since we're getting going in this process. So that absolutely will be a topic for the next agenda. But then if there's something specific like discussion on either task force or stakeholders, we can specifically call that out as an agenda item on a future for a future agenda meeting.
Okay. Going to our next topic. The next topic is the work plan. We got also in our packet the May 1st edition of the work plan, which I think mainly took off the date, the target date of the action plan. I think that was the only change, but it has the new date of May 1st. So everyone should be using the May 1st as their version, because we have like 100 versions going back. And so I'd like to open this for discussion about Who would like to be on which committee? Would you like to change committees? Would you like to get added into a committee? And let's have a discussion about that. Tony?
I was previously on the Civic Participation and Employment Committee.
Yeah.
And like we-
Civic participation and employment. Tony's going back on that. Excellent, thank you.
Everything that I was on before, I'd like to continue.
Yeah, well,
I have some comments to make about this whole work plan thing, and I
yes,
like to do it when it comes to time for us to comment on the specific task subcommittee that we are on. I will talk about that.
talk about it at another time.
Well, we are gonna, next item number 6,
Uh-huh.
is essentially commission subcommittee reports.
Right,
Once we get to that, I'll talk about some of these, what my views are on some of the work plans that I have been associated with.
okay, that's
I
fine.
don't necessarily want to change anything at this point.
I'd like to discuss myself because I'm on four subcommittees and that's too many. Because I joined the action plan one also, and that's gonna be a big one. So I'd like to bow out of one or the other. I'm not sure which one yet, but I don't want to be on, I just don't want to be on 4. So where are other people thinking about their assignments? Anybody want to make any changes? It might come up under reports, like Jim was saying, but at this point,
I changed my mind. I can make a comment about
Okay.
work plan in general.
okay,
I think a lot of the items that I personally have been assigned to are, lack of better word, is slightly superfluous. We really haven't been making any progress of late in many of these items. So what I just questioned the whole rationale behind having them in the form that we have them. So I wanted us to at least have some kind of a discussion about this. For example, each time we bring up the topic of subcommittee reports and people say, well, it hasn't been a report, there hasn't been any progress, stuff like that. And so to me, therein lies an issue. And so let me take the outdoor space and building, which I'm a member of with Commissioner Nagao as a 2-member subcommittee. There hasn't been any progress on that issue for better part of a year. So it basically begs the question, why is that we're on the list? So my thought is that the reason there hasn't been progress is not because we don't have issues in that area, we have plenty of issues, but we don't have a plan that essentially is long enough term so that we can basically measure ourselves against the plan in terms of the progress we're making. So each time we ask a question and, either Commissioner Nagao or myself, we just say, well, there hasn't been any. So my feeling is that I think all the 4 subcommittees that I'm on, they're all more or less fit within that category. With the minor exception of 2 of them, which I am on with Commissioner O'Reilly, that there are some, albeit not great plans, but there are some plans and there are some progress that we can speak about, but the others not. So, for example, in terms of outdoor spaces, I don't know what our plans are. We have Gilby, and we have the one in the Grand Park. But what are we going to do with these?
I understand what you're saying. What I would say, and I get it, we really haven't done anything in a year. We were kind of waiting for the action plan thing to get going with Annabelle and that whole project, because we structured the whole work plan to match the 8 domains.
I disagree with you.
So,
This is a separate issue.
well, I mean, but I'll get into it.
All right.
So you want to know how we make a plan, or what is the plan, or where does the plan come from? So I just want to say that this is just my idea, and that is that when we presented an overview, we each took our committee and we presented an overview to the whole commission about what was included in our subcommittee according to the action plan, the WHO 8 domains. And when I said, when you were giving your report, provide a summary to everyone so they get a sense of what that group is, and then go to the checklist at the back of the narrative, and it gives you a very comprehensive checklist of items that would help in developing a plan for each of the subcommittees. So that's something that we could really look at, each subcommittee could look at that, to give us a little bit of some ideas and some structure, because that's what the AARP survey is gonna ask about. It's gonna be topics from that, and that's gonna drive our work. That's the way I see it. What do other people think?
Can I answer that question? How does that translate into any benefit that people that use, for example, a Grand Park derive from being a member of that community? In terms of what benefits does Grand Park provide for them that could be more or less based on our work as a subcommittee?
I don't mean that.
There isn't any.
What do other people think of that? What Jim's saying? How would anybody else respond to what Jim's saying?
Well, let me give you an example, which I think is fairly fresh in my mind. During this blackout that we had during March, there was no warm-up areas anywhere. There wasn't one here, there wasn't one there, and I'm not sure we needed one or not, but we didn't have. And that's an element that is totally lacking in the facilities that we are providing, the community centers. And the reason it can't be here is because there's no emergency response center, therefore there's no backup power, therefore there's no possibility of warming the place up. And similar thing over there. So my feeling is that how do we address these needs that are on the ground present today, whether or not they're reflected in the age-friendly or not? You see what I'm saying? There are some major lacks. For example, outdoor space in the Grand area doesn't measure up to what we always talked about in the past. It's slightly short. Indoor space, there are some deficiencies, and we as a commission, I know Manny knows what he's doing, but we don't really know what plans are and how do we measure ourselves against any plans and any progress that we're making. So until we identify a plan that perhaps translates age-friendly into something on the ground for the benefit of the people, we can't really know if you're making any progress.
Good example, and I thought of it myself when, when we lost electricity, the whole town was shut down for 2 days, and no one had electricity. And so that's, a problem that occurred, and, there wasn't, a plan in place to fix it or to help people with that. So I get that part of it. I always think about that we're supposed to be a cooling center, and on the boiling hot days, the center's closed.
You took the words straight out of my mouth. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm a very practical person. I like to do practical things. I like to look at the practical things that come up. So I think we have to consider all these examples. I think we can all think of some examples that happen, that people need kind of urgently, actually, and how do we help them? So, and things have fallen through the cracks because the center's not open that much. I mean, it's open a lot, but it's not open 24/7 where you can help people to that extent. So there might be some problems that exceed our ability to fix them. However, I think we should definitely tackle them, all of them. Anything that we can come up, that was a good idea.
So I have a solution for this. I think the subcommittees that are assigned certain certain projects, certain initiatives. The very first step should be to come up with a plan. Call it element, call it plan, call it whatever you want to call it. There need to be some roadmap. And from that roadmap, they can measure progress for themselves, for the staff, for whoever is going to be responsible for making it all happen. Unless we have that, we continuously will come to this forum and talk about X, Y, and Z, and then walk away, and nothing will happen.
A lot of what you're talking about requires central city information.
Not really, not necessarily.
To know what the resources are.
Can I continue on your first point? If you have a subcommittee with a staff member as a part of it, we can sit down and figure out what resources there are, what plans there are, what things we are feasible within what timeframes. For example, the council may not provide budget for this year to work on item X, X, Y, and Z, but they may provide it later. But at the same time, if the council is not aware of the plans that we have, how do they even provide budgets? So, or if they provide budget, it would be essentially absent the senior commission members. They would be between the commission, between the council and the staff, and we would be essentially locked out of the process. So what I'm trying to say is that I think if we accept subcommittee responsibility for each one of these work items, we got a very, very first thing to do is to come up with some kind of, and absent that, we are going to be more or less throwing it in the ether as we have been. So
I was simply thinking that we need for any such plan creation to know what the resources of the city are.
it's a chicken and egg.
Yeah, and so it's just, where do we get information? For exactly what you're trying to do.
Look for the information, but we are not even doing that.
Correct.
Let's example, what we should probably be doing, even if it existed before we organize ourselves, or show the domains, would be to set up a meeting with staff. Annie, about what's going on about the
Each subcommittee should meet with the
Yeah,
staff.
on a regular basis. We don't have a budget accepting the money to do the project, so we have very little control, and it's a glacial process, budgeting. You know that, how long that's a year in advance or more, to do something, so I think the baby steps would be to make an agreement that we would meet with whoever staff is responsible for the mechanics part of any of these areas on a monthly basis. That would be the report. At least we get ourselves moving a little bit.
Well said, Captain. Well said.
Do you have specific items in your wheelhouse that you would be able to articulate a question?
Well, the very first one would be the outdoor space and building. I mean, that's the one I started with. And it really is a poster child for the question I'm trying to relate.
And so the question that you would like to have answered is what with regards to outdoor spaces?
Yeah, I mean, Commissioner Gao, please feel free to speak. But I keep coming to this meeting feeling bad that I have no answer. When I ask question, oh, what about the outdoor space and building? No, nothing this time. Next time happens, nothing this time. So, and the reason for that is not because I'm lazy or Commissioner Gao is lazy, because we don't have any plans that we can approach Manny and his staff to find out how much progress has been made. We don't really have any control over what is going to happen in at the Grand Park. We have no control over it, and we don't seem to be able to get any control over it. So you disagree with that, right, Bill?
I absolutely 1000% agree. agree
Oh, okay.
with what you said.
All right.
I'm simply asking that we have named three different crises. Too hot, no power, and too cold.
I'm sorry to say that, but that won't get us very far.
But I'm just saying that those are the things that we need. So if we're looking at what to do with the lights go out in terms of outdoor spaces and so forth, that would be an agenda item, if you will, for yourself.
We are not responsible for day-to-day operations of these places. What we are responsible for is some kind of a plan that we buy into. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about lights being on or off. I'm talking about the fact that we have no plan in place for warm-up centers during the power down. We have no plan in place for cool-down centers during the heat. We don't have no plan in place for knowing when the Grand Park will have such and such facility, like additional facilities over and above what is there, and we have long talked about for past 6 years, to be exact. So if we have no plans in place, we have no way of knowing what to do in terms of meeting the needs, because we don't even know the needs.
So I was going to interject just a little bit because it is kind of swirling around a similar topic, but I think we just, and to Commissioner Bassegi's point, we should make sure that conversations are in, Chair Cohen initially started with amendments to the work plan. Subcommittees or maybe structure, it sounds like that is something that is being discussed and is on the table. Obviously, there are elements, because obviously different sections of the work plan cover different pieces. As we pointed out, it is based upon the 8 domains of the WHO in regards to age friendly. I think from what I'm hearing is that the commission is highlighting similar thoughts in that Chair Cohen highlighted that each subcommittee was tasked with kind of finding out the pieces that go into the 8 domain. And I think Commissioner Basigi is taking it a little bit further in that having the subcommittee identify specific things or actionable items that each subcommittee can do. And even taking it further is that will be further supported by the bigger action plan that Age Friendly will then come through. So I think in a sense, we're taking different components and going in a similar direction. And so maybe that's something that the commission can decide, is that a task that we want to give each of the subcommittees to figure out smaller things that we can do so that we can start going into that larger direction. And then obviously, as the age-friendly process gets going, and ultimately we will have a very large action plan at the end to see then and make sure that some of those smaller ones are ultimately in alignment with that. But I think we're saying the same thing in different components of the larger picture. But I just want to make sure that we keep the discussion to the work plan subcommittees and maybe structure so that we can keep on that topic before we it's very easy because it encompasses the 8 domains, encompass a lot of information. So I just wanted to kind of keep us focused on that piece.
Comments? One item that Jim did mention about meeting, I think maybe Kevin, I'm not sure, about meeting with the staff once a month. I think that's really unrealistic. The staff are so, they're thin, and they definitely don't have time to meet with us every month. I mean, I don't know what the relationship would be, a staff with a subcommittee, maybe the one-time meeting just to get things like a little bit of a discussion going. But I don't think it could be an ongoing thing at this point. You don't have enough people, do you?
So to that point, and as all the commissioners highlighted, and some of the examples that are brought up, a lot of the information, and I think that is something that if there are questions, if there is information that is needed, that the commissioners need to work on various items within the subcommittee or work plans, that is something that we can work to answer questions, and that could be via email, it could be phone call. But to your point, to have, there are 8 subcommittees. And if each of those are required to have staff at each of those ongoing meetings, I'm not sure that that's something that could be fully supported in that way. Now, obviously, as meetings come up, and that might be needed, absolutely, but on an ongoing, regular basis, obviously, staff is here to support and be a resource. So if there are questions, we can absolutely do that. However, we need to get the information to the commission, or if the commission has a specific question, we can absolutely do it that way as well too. All right, Councilmember Lee Ing has her hand raised.
I do want to say that if subcommittee members do want to as well consult with the liaisons, we've served on committees and commissions before, so we're always here to help provide answer questions as well. So you don't have to rely fully on staff. Like Jamie said, we don't want to tie up their time, and we're available to assist as well. So Councilmember Tyson, I don't want to speak for you, but I'm pretty sure you are willing to provide any guidance and assistance when needed. I am. I'm making known that I am. So feel free to contact me.
Having been on committee for 7 years, I can make some comments about the staff involvement. If you want to hear it, since I spoke so much, I'm willing to shut up and go away. But that being said, my feeling is that a lot of these 8 items that we have, initiatives, or whatever you want to call them, are not really, they can go dormant for a long time. They can be, they're so mature. For example, communications is a very mature one. We worked on it for a very long time, early on, and we got it to a point where most elements, thank you for the great work you guys did, is in place. So we don't really have to constantly refresh it. So those, there are number within these initiatives that are like that are not, they don't require active involvement by staff. So we can put those in a kind of, shall we say, middle burner or back burner or something, and then work on stuff that requires staff and commission to work together to really give it some life and give some feed under it and get it going and give it some momentum. And hopefully it'll get to a point that at some point we can rerun like the others. So that's my feeling about the staff.
Thank you very much for your input on that. So I think Jamie was saying that, some of the discussion would happen when we get to the subcommittee reports, but we handle it now, I think, with it. Does anyone have anything else they want to say about that? Or please consider your roles on the committee, which committees you want to be on. You want to make any changes, let us know. We don't have to decide right this minute, but I just want to bring that up. Go ahead.
I want to design from the communication and information subcommittee.
Don't we have to vote on these? I'm kidding.
Adjustments as needed to the sub.
Resignations, only addition, no. Smile sometimes, right? The communication and information.
Anyway.
Thank you for letting us know. Anybody else want to make a change right now?
Previously, I was on the action plan.
Okay.
I'd like to go back on that.
Okay. Okay. Let's see what's next on the agenda. Thank you for that, but appreciate that. So we have flyers now, informational items.
All right, so I will go ahead and kick us off, and then I will turn it over to Chris in Los Altos Hills. The first one that I will highlight, and Chris, I'll go through all of the Los Altos Hills ones, or Los Altos, and then I'll switch it over to you. Go. The first one is, we're really and then the next one, we do have a variety of recruitments going on, specifically in our teen center. So obviously our Juniper room here at the community center is open for drop-in hours. And we are looking for additional part-time staff to help support that program. So if you know of any interested individuals, specifically interested in working with teens, please have them take a look and apply. We also have ongoing recruitments for facility attendants, also preschool teachers, a recreation leader for our Adult 50 Plus program. And then we're getting ready to just about close, but we have quite a few individuals that have already signed up to work our summer camps out at Redwood Grove this summer. So we're excited to have more staff than we had last summer. So that's always a good direction. And then the last one is our Tiny Tots program that is currently open for enrollment for the school year that starts after Labor Day in September. So information about that particular program is available in your packet as well. And with that, I will turn it over to Bridget, who will continue with our Adult 50 Plus and some other Los Altos programs as well.
Definitely, thank you. So just so everyone knows, we are in the recruiting process for the Adult 50 Plus coordinator that is happening right now. So just wanted to let you know. We also have, Jamie had mentioned a few events, but we also have our summer concert series that will be starting actually next Thursday, June 15th at Grant Park. And that will be from 6:30 to 8:30. We have a total of 6 concerts. So just other dates, we've got June 22nd will be at Grant, June 29th is at Grant, July 13th at Hillview, July 20th at Grant, and then July 27th at Hillview. That will be the final concert. And then more specifically to Adult 50 Plus, we have a shredding event sponsored by the Sunset Rotary and the Adult 50 Plus program that'll be happening Tuesday, June 13th, 2023, 4:30 to 6:30. If interested in attending, please contact the Adult 50 Plus program to sign up. It's going to be in the parking lot at the Los Altos Community Center, over sort of by that very fancy dumpster area that you see. That's where it will be. We have our monthly lunch at Grant on June 14th, 11:15. And after that, the block action team talk will be taking place at Grant in the multi-purpose room at 12. Meet Art Whipple, who will be speaking at Grant Park about Action Team and how all the different groups come together during the emergency response. We have our monthly lunch at Los Altos Community Center on at 12 on June 15th. We also have movie day on June 15th here at the community center at 12:30, and the movie is The Descendants. We've got Wednesday, June 28th at 11, Dr. Arun Dur is coming to speak at Grant Park. He will be discussing a book he wrote, Your Mess Has a Message, Strategies on How to Bring Conscious Resilience to Your Daily Routine. And then just in addition to these different highlighted events, check out the ongoing programming that takes place in our program, information regarding ongoing activities that happen on a regular basis. They can be found on our website with the Parks and Rec Department and from our spotlight, where we're working on the new one as we speak, but there's a calendar on there. So please take a look. And that is all that we have for this month. Yes.
It may not have been, has already answered. Do we know what happened to the Friday night social that we used to have once a month during the summertime?
Are you talking about Club 55?
Yes.
So those are going to be resuming. So they, I think, went on hiatus for a little while. But you'll be excited to know that they'll actually be hosted here at the community center. And so I think additional information will be coming out soon once they've finalized all the programming. So there will be more information coming shortly.
So you're gonna publish whatever it is, you publicize it. Because I'm really looking forward to that. Especially now that we have a venue for it.
Yeah.
Of course, I have to beg and borrow, wherever we can find the place.
No, absolutely. So that more information will be coming soon. Yes. And then with that, I'll turn it over to Chris in Los Altos Hills.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Hopefully I'm coming in relatively clearly over the airwaves here. Perfect. I'm seeing some thumbs up. Within your packet, you'll find a number of flyers from Los Altos Hills Community Services and Recreation. I will try to go in the order that I believe they're within your packet. Number one is a Healthy Brain program that Los Altos Community Services and Recreation has teamed up with Santa Clara County Public Health to share lessons and get inspired for maintaining our brain health. And that program, mark your calendars, is this Thursday at 10 a.m. at Town Hall. Additionally, we are sharing a resource created by a resident. It is a field manual to the many butterflies one might encounter in Los Altos Hills. I'm not an expert, but it was probably a little early for the butterflies, but it's a great thing that you can download and print, and it'll fold up into a nice pocket guide, usually in late summer when we see more butterflies in town. Coming up sooner than that is the 4th of July parade, which takes place beginning at 10 a.m. It is a community parade that begins at Town Hall. It ends at Gardner Bullis Elementary School, just a short walk down Fremont Avenue. Additionally, I want to make you aware of an outdoor family movie night that's taking place this summer on August 4th at Prisma Park. Free to attend. There will be food available for purchase. The movie we are broadcasting on a giant jumbo screen is Disney's Encanto. So we'll have some Latin American inspired fusion food available from a truck that will be available for purchase. Additionally, there is a much anticipated softball game, Los Altos Hills versus Los Altos. It's the 5th annual crosstown rivalry game. This year, Los Altos will be hosting. It will be at Rosita Park, and the winner will take home a Gleaming Glove trophy. Snacks are available for purchase for all attendees. And I can connect you with the softball captains if anyone is interested in playing. And then finally, not within the packet, I will just mention that yesterday the town's picnic was held with over 2,000 attendees, which represents about a quarter of the town's residents. And the early discussion is that we're considering it one of the best turnouts ever. So with that concludes the report from Los Altos Hills.
Thank you.
Chris, can you give us that date on that softball game?
Pardon me, yes, it's, I don't have it written in front of me, but August 19th, I believe, is the date, and I can confirm that if you give me a moment.
It is,
Saturday.
you are right. You are right, Chris. It is Saturday, August 19th, and it'll be at Rosita Park, which is in Los Altos, because Los Altos Hill hosted last year.
I just wanted to give some feedback to Chris. I attended the picnic yesterday, as did the former mayor Tyson. And it was really one of the best ones in all the years I've been there. I've usually been to all of them, and this one was really the best from point of view of organization, the space planning, the how the layout had changed for better. And not the least was the antique car show. It was fantastic. I don't know if you ever saw it. Did you go?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And the games, things for kids,
Yeah.
really nice.
Incredible.
Good
Thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Good.
Yeah.
We're moving on now to commission, subcommittee, staff role reports and requests for future agenda items. So the first thing are the commission, is the commission or the subcommittee and or the subcommittee reports. Does anyone have a report?
So just on the,
What's it?
housing element, Nick Zorn talked to the group from Grant Park. It was well attended, a lot of questions and a lot of interest. It's not a hidden object in this town.
Yeah, but did the seniors or especially the seniors find it as in the elements?
I haven't had time to talk with him about that. I couldn't find it.
No worries. I think just it's something that we probably need to at least to visit, find out if yeah. Okay, thank you.
Question, George, what is the status of the housing element in Los Altos Hills? It's making news all the time and couldn't seem to come to fruition.
It came to fruition. We received an affirmative letter approving our housing element on Tuesday of last week. And we put out a press release to let people know, and we're bragging to all the neighboring cities in the meantime, because so far only either 3 or 4 cities in the county have been approved.
That was a major victory, isn't it? Yeah. On the communication and information, I handed out flyers for all the previous places I was. And in addition, I did find a location at Lucky. And on Wednesday, the American Legion will receive their flyers. They're now holding their meetings in the long time.
Thank you. All right.
Well, what flyers are those, Commissioner Nagar?
Sorry?
Which flowers? Which flyers? Communication and information.
Thank you. Anybody else? Does Jeff have any more reports?
I do. So just 3 brief ones. First one is pickleball. I'm happy to report that the shared use lines were installed out at Mackenzie Park, and we actually opened on May 1st, and it is being used quite well. Again, the priority days for pickleball are Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. And all of the equipment is out. And so we're actually hosting a small ribbon cutting ceremony on Wednesday, June 14th at 2 p.m. And just to celebrate that we do have this pilot program going at Mackenzie. So if you are interested, the flyer was approved after we got the packet out. So I will forward the flyer for the ribbon cutting ceremony to the commission. if you're interested in attending. But we're excited to bring and have been getting a lot of great feedback and some suggestions on how to continue to make it better. But we've been open a little more than a month so far, and it's been a long time coming. It's been a process, and as you know, with all the inclement weather that we got, that definitely delayed the installation by quite a few months. But it's installed, it's here. And if you want to play pickleball, there are 6 courts available out at McKenzie. The next one is summer registration. It is completely open, so all ages with programs, camps, classes, that is all available online. So if you're interested, please take a look. And then the final one is the adjustments to council and commission meetings, as I reported at the last meeting. The senior commission will remain as it is currently, which is a 7-member body, 2 from Los Altos Hills and 5 from Los Altos. And it will be on a monthly basis. The only specifics on the meetings is that they have distinguished that a regular year will be 10 meetings with the month of July and December off. But city council has to approve those changes, and it wouldn't go into effect because that will adjust in the ordinance. So that will go into effect 30 days later, which would be roughly about mid-July, if all of that is approved. So we will still hold our regular July meeting because that change will occur and be approved after that. But then theoretically, if we needed to schedule a special meeting, we can, and we always have that ability. But our regularly scheduled meetings, we would normally be off for July and December. So that is my update for staff. Open to any questions if there are any. Yes.
Is there any news about recruitment for the senior commission?
So at this point, so 2 pieces, because we are a joint body between Los Altos and Los Altos Hills. Los Altos has moved to recruitments for 1 time a year, which will fall in the August-September timeframe. So it actually is going to be coming up relatively soon for us. There obviously, if there needs to be a recruitment sooner, and usually what the trigger point would be is that we would not be able to meet a quorum, which we would have to have at least 4 commissioners for a 7-member body. And then the other side of that is working closely with the Los Altos Hills staff for the members that are on the Los Altos Hills side. So for Los Altos, for those that would make the adjustment in August, September, and the city clerk's office would be the ones that would be running those directly and would be reaching out to those commissioners if they're interested in continuing their term, if they're on a 1st term or continuing term, and then same on the Los Altos Hills side.
We'll send people a letter about that. If they're-
Yes, they would most likely, yes, they would most likely outreach via email. That would be, I think, what has been done in the past.
And what about the recruitment for Los Altos Hills?
Los Altos Hills, we usually work directly with Deborah Padovan, who's the city clerk on the Hill side. And so actually, I think if I remember correctly from my last correspondence with her, that they were looking to outreach for open recruitments, not just for the senior commission, but other commissions as well.
This matters worse. I'm nearly terming out. And if I stay on, it's because there's nobody else. And I wouldn't just drop out and leave, because I think that would be their dereliction of duty. I'll hang on until somebody else is identified. But I'm near term out, so it'd be nice if you can speed up a little bit.
Sure. He's rooting for 2 city commissioners.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. So what about future agenda items? We had something I was talking about, but we were gonna fit it under another category, what we were talking about.
I would have to double check, and
Friendly, is it?
no, age friendly will be a continuation, and then I think one other, oh, actually, I did remember one other piece. You will notice, the Zoom meeting that we have set up. It is not a regular Zoom meeting, it is a webinar. So that's why, which for those of you that are in person, you won't have to worry about it, but if you have a recollection from when we were on Bring Central, you receive a unique link. And obviously that is for security purposes. Unfortunately, I was on the receiving end. I was leading a library commission meeting and it was hacked. And then I think one of our city council meetings had a similar experience recently. So we've made a large push, obviously, for the security features, and which is why you noticed a form that Candace sent out, and that's to determine if you needed to join virtually or would be in person. And again, that's just to make sure that we have those security features in place. So if you happen to be on Zoom, you'll receive a unique link. But if you're in person, you won't have to worry about that piece. But age friendly will be a continuation. Work plan would also be a continuation as well. I don't recall if there was a different one.
We're talking about what I think we mentioned we were gonna fit it under something else.
Oh, it was in regards to stakeholders or, yes, and so that we can call that one out specifically so that there's a specific discussion maybe around who is included as a stakeholder.
So we're gonna have it under age friendly, or we're gonna have a separate item on it?
I would say that could be age friendly. It might be informational just to kind of continue to update on process, but I think the agenda topic should be a specific discussion on the stakeholders.
That'd be great. Thank you. Anybody else have any ideas for future agenda items? I think we're finished, right? I'd like to adjourn the meeting. Thank you all for coming. Candace, thank you.